How bad was Cevo for Na'Vi? Are Liquid really a top team? And who's going to win the iBUYPOWER Cup? I'm Jack Westerman, joined by Jason Moses O'Toole, and you're watching PopFlash. Our first story this week is the Cevo Season 8 LAN Finals, which took place from the 6th to 8th of November in Columbus, Ohio. There were $100,000 on the line and 8 teams in attendance. So, Jason, let's kick things off with a look at Group A. So, this was the group with Virtus.Pro, Conquest, Dignitas and Team Liquid, and no surprise up there in the top middle. Virtus.Pro won this group, beating out Dignitas 2-1 in that game. But the first thing I want to talk about is down here in the bottom middle. This elimination game, Conquest defeated Team Liquid, who some people call the best team in America at the moment, 2-0 and knocked them out of the tournament. And, you know, it was fairly convincing, Jason. It was 16-11 on train, 22-18 on cobble. Does this loss, because this is a hard blow for Liquid, does this loss change the way we look at Team Liquid, do you think?
It should. That was really ugly. I don't know if it should actually, you know, maybe not change the way of Team Liquid, but I think you can just see how quick we are to raise them up to, you know, the best team in North America, just because we don't have a team that can consistently compete, and that's the issue. So any glimpse of hope, we just jump on over here in North America. So yeah, this was good to temper the expectations of temper the expectations of the community. It was a good performance by Conquest. They had a really good tournament overall. But Team Liquid just really dropped the ball. I mean, that's a team that didn't look like they were mentally into the games against Conquest. You know, Shazam wins a 1-on-5 and then a 1-on-3, both in overtime. Yeah. That's hideous, and that's not against Shazam. That's just hideous on Team Liquid's part, that he's able to do that. So they did not look like they were into it very much. For whatever reason, they just didn't seem like they were mentally focused enough to win out that match, which is a little bit unfortunate for them.
Well, let's talk about Conquest in that case, because they did go. They beat Liquid, knocked them out of the tournament. Then they went through to the second place game, where they took Dignitas 2-1 and knocked them out of the tournament as well.
Yep.
I know you talk about not getting hopes up. Well, you just talked about not getting hopes up for American teams, but the Conquest were playing really well. What was going so well for those guys this event?
They had a sick tournament, and it was a combination. I mean, it's just they had 3 players show up in a big fashion throughout this tournament, played really well. Rush was dropping bombs on Virtus.Pro earlier, played really well throughout the whole tournament. Shazam played really well throughout the whole tournament, as much criticism as he's gotten over the years.
Yeah.
He had a good showing. The big surprising thing was Stanislaw. That third, you know, you don't expect him to be the next one to kind of step up, but he was a beast throughout this event. So that was cool to see. And it's just, you know, the Liquid players didn't show up. Those 3 players did. Dignitas still struggles with the fact, I mean, I think it surprised everyone that Conquest beat them, but still Dignitas struggles with the fact that they don't have this deep talent pool. They you know, Pimp's kind of lost a little bit of an identity now that he's opping more. AZ's the only real one carrying his weight on that squad. And Conquest was over to Abel Cummum, and it's just a matter of their players showing up and having a really good event.
All right, well, let's jump over and take a look at Group B now. This was the group with Na'Vi, Mousesports, Titan and Luminosity. And the 2 teams to advance here were Mousesports and Titan, as we can see in the top middle and far right. But the big story, the unavoidable story in this group, Jason, is the fact that Na'Vi did not advance. And they did so in style. I mean, lost to Mousesports 0-2. Then they lost to Titan 1-2. Just, you know, across the board, a pretty poor show. So, simply put, what the hell went wrong here for Na'Vi, Jason?
Most of it is just the fact that, I mean, this is the thing. Na'Vi, that second place showing at Cluj might hide, you know, some of the fact if you just look at the standings of that. But I mean, this is a team that's always been wildly inconsistent. They have really high peaks and really low lows. So I don't think it's as much of a case of, you know, post-major hangover, but I just think it's their nature. This was not a good tournament for them. Really good tournament for Mousesports, who showed up and surprised everyone because they've looked dull for the past couple months. But Na'Vi, they've always struggled with that. They've always, you know, much like Virtus.Pro, they peak and then they just dip off a little bit. So that's just systematic of Na'Vi. Now, I don't think we've ever seen one of their dips fall this low to them losing to Mousesports and Titan.
Yeah.
Not making it out of this group is still very surprising, but this is just, you know, a trend of theirs, a really bad trend to have.
Well, you mentioned Titan. Let's talk about them because notably Shoxy was the one calling for Titan at this event. And again, kind of a mixed bag. They got off that rough start against Luminosity, lost 0-2, but then they came back, eliminated Na'Vi, and qualified in second place, beat Luminosity 2-1. Does this change in leadership? Because Existence is a guy who, you know, I can't see giving up leadership of a team too easily. Does this continued kind of mixed spell for Titan and a change of caller indicate perhaps changes are coming or something needs to change for this team?
Yeah, something does need. If Existence isn't going to be calling for you, I mean, he just doesn't have a place in that team. He doesn't have the fragging power to it. And, I mean, they even have an issue with Smiths who lacks of the firepower. He had some good games at this event, but overall, I mean, you're not going to win tournaments. You're not going to go deep runs into these events with with an Existence who isn't calling and only getting, there were matches where they only had like 5 frags.
Yeah.
That just doesn't cut it. They're very fortunate that RPK showed up in a big way this event. The one thing about Shox calling that might be good is much like Happy, who can call and he centers everything around what he wants to do, is Shox can do that same kind of situation, and he has the talent to make it work. But they were very fortunate to get out of this group, and very surprising that they're able to beat Luminosity 2-1. But yeah, if Existence isn't calling, they need to switch him into a coaching role, and they need to bring someone else in there who can, alleviate some of the pressure put onto, Shox and RPK. There's just not enough fraggers around that team.
All right, well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what those guys do in the future. But for now, let's jump over and take a look at the bracket stage of Cevo. And I've just got one more question on this. So as we can see, Virtus.Pro pretty much swept this whole thing along the top there. Beat Titan 2-0, went on and beat Mouse Sports 3-0. And Conquest, actually down there in the bottom left, eventually got knocked out. This is their repeat as champions of Cevo Land. They won Season 8 as well. I guess that's no real surprise considering the teams that were in attendance, right, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, you have to expect that that Na'Vi was going to give them some kind of an effort, but Na'Vi just bombed out. Never really had to deal with them too much. Also, Mouse Sports, I think that final would have been closer if Mouse Sports hadn't had to play the semifinal right before it. I mean, they got a little bit of a break, but I just think you know it's an issue with every tournament organizer that these, even in the majors, and I hate it, is that semifinals and finals are played on the same day, and I think that's really, really unfair to the team that wins the second semifinal. But either way, Virtus.Pro comes out with a solid win. Mouse Sports, despite that final showing, they look good throughout the whole weekend. Conquest takes a map off them, almost wins that series straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, Conquest, despite everything, despite the things that, you might think that they're the #1 team now, you might think that there was just like a one-off tournament, but they had a good event, and it's going to be up to them to see if they can repeat going forward into the iBUYPOWER Cup. But yeah, Virtus.Pro repeats, pretty easy for them. Funny though, in Cluj, when I talked to Taz after they got eliminated in Cluj, I asked him, I was like, "What's up, man? How you guys feeling?" And which is probably the worst question to ask a team that just gets eliminated from the major. But he was just like, we didn't play good at all. We're going to go to America. We're going to win Cevo, and we'll probably struggle again in IEM. Like, he just flat out admitted it. He's like, we're going to win in Cevo, and then we're just going to have a tough time at IEM more than likely right afterwards. So that'll be interesting to see if his prediction can come true.
Our second story this week is the iBUYPOWER Invitational, which takes place on November 14th and 15th inside the esports arena in Santa Ana, California. Once again, there are $100,000 on the line and 8 teams in attendance, 6 North American teams plus Luminosity and Renegades. So very much kind of a North American heavy event this time around. Yep. Jason, first off the bat in Group 1, obviously this event is yet to be played out, but in Group 1, Group 1, we've got Luminosity Gaming, Winterfox, CLG, and Renegades. 2 teams are going to advance, and as is tradition these days, it's a GSL format. Who do you see making out of this group, Jason?
I see Luminosity making it out, and I see CLG making it out. Although, I honestly, this might seem a little crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Winterfox puts up a little bit of a fight against Luminosity and both Renegades. I think they could have some close matches with them, despite all the issues they've had. I think the issues they've had really shadows the ability of that team. I don't think they're ever going to be world beaters, but they can definitely give Luminosity and Renegades a run for their money in the lower bracket. So I definitely see LG and CLG making it out, though.
Okay, and if we take a look at group number 2, we've got Cloud9, Conquest, Team Liquid, and Complexity over in this group. And I guess you might have said that this would have been Cloud9 and Liquid's group to lose, but given Conquest's performance over at Cevo, I guess there's massive potential for an upset here, right?
Yes. Yes, there is. I'm not even sure if you can call it an upset at this point.
Right.
This is going to be a good barometer of where Conquest is actually at, to see if they can have 2 good events in a row. Because that's kind of the trend with North American teams. We see them have really good events and really crappy events, and it all depends, if their players show up. So, I mean, are they going to play that well again? And if they do, they definitely, can beat Cloud9. I'm going to take Cloud9 in this.
Right.
I don't think that. I mean, they've fallen a long way, but I think this is a situation where, going to a LAN event against North American teams, I don't think they're going to drop the ball here.
Right.
So I'll take Cloud9 beating beating Conquest, initially and making it out. And then I'm going to take, actually, this other one is great too. Conquest has like a 16-0 streak against North American teams right now. Complexity's been playing really, really well lately. So, I mean, it all depends, because Cloud9 and Liquid, are they going to show up? Are they going to be the teams that we know they can be? So it's so hard to predict these North American versus North American matchups, because it's all about, these are unknown quantities. Even the players on Liquid and Cloud9 that we know what peak they can get to, we just don't know if they're going to get there. That's always the issue, is we don't know if they're going to show up. Because when they do, they look really good. And when they don't, they look terrible. So this group is actually up in the air. I'll take Cloud9 and Liquid to make it out. I'll just go with the favorites, I guess you could call it, just because, this is just one of those things. There's so much pride on the line. For Liquid, there's a spot in IEM. I mean, that's the other thing we have to touch on, is that the highest ranked team that at this event that's not already invited. So anyone not named Cloud9 and Luminosity, the highest ranking of the rest of the field, goes to IEM. And so this is something where I think Cevo is going to be more of a wake up call to them and be like, you're not quite there yet. Like, get it together. So I'll expect them to take Complexity out.
That's it for this week. I'm Jack Westerman, joined by Jason Moses O'Toole.
And we'll be back next Wednesday with another episode of PopFlash.